goes. And now, here's your host, Gary Rockman.
Time keeps on slipping into the future. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I want to fly like an eagle till I'm free. Hey, this is Gary Rockman, your real estate rock star, and you are listening to Connection. Welcome to Connection. Welcome to today's show. I hope your week has been as great as mine has been. It's been a busy week. We'll get into some of that in a second here. But yeah, shoot, we got some good stuff to talk about today. Actually, I don't know where you're listening in, how you're listening in. But here in Baltimore, the weather has been good this week. We've had some great sunny days, some beautiful days. Today's a little overcast, a little rainy, supposed to rain most of the day, but nevertheless, the weather has been spring-like. So I am very happy about that. So don't know where you are in the country, but that's what we've got going on this end, on this side of the country, East Coast, baby, Baltimore. What else is in the news? So some unfortunate pieces as well. So our mayor, folks, I think some of you probably already know, our mayor got into a bit of a jam, right? She's been out on sick leave with pneumonia, but I guess, right when she was hospitalized in the hospital, some information came out on our Mayor Pugh, that where she has had some book deals, some people who purchased her books in large quantities, who were contract winners here in the city. So it's not looking real good. Nevertheless, the feds actually raided her home yesterday. I think they also raided maybe even a staff member's home. Um, Not looking good. The governor, also the city council had already felt that they came back unanimously saying that she should resign. Now the governor is chiming in. This is the largest city in Maryland, so it's just not looking good. I pray that what she's accused of is not the case. I pray that it not being the case, if that is the result, that or if that is the truth, that the truth come out and exonerate her. At the same time, unfortunately, if it is true, then this is a horrible thing, not only for her, but for, again, the city of Baltimore. We really need to be moving forward. And these types of things don't allow us to do so. So um, hopefully, folks around the country can pray for us on that piece. Another note, another note. So trending right now, and I want to talk about in today's show, is basically the title of today's show is it okay to go to your kid's school with your ass out? That's the name of the show today. Is it okay for you to go to your kid's school with your ass out? Man, so we'll get into that in a moment. But hot article written in Essence Magazine. Principal out of Houston uh, had to write a letter, had to kind of come up with a dress code, and not for the students, but for the parents. So we'll get into that. That's today's show on Connection. But before and without further ado, what would I do if I didn't do what I normally do, baby, and read the blog? So this blog is, again, it's still the one that I wrote for March. I wrote it late in March, so I wanted to give it more time. And I'll be releasing the April blog, or perhaps maybe write two and do it April and May. But nevertheless, the March blog, you can get that if you're watching this on YouTube. You can go to my website, GaryRockman.com, and pick that up. And if you, of course, getting the show by going to my website, then you know where to find it. At the bottom of the page, go to the blog section and just check them out. Check them out. All right. So that being said, here we go. Here we go. Folks, takes me a little time sometimes here to get my eyes right. Get older, you get older. Once you hit that, it was amazing how I had, I was always nearsighted, but I could see far, I could see, I could see things close, but then you get older and wow, it's amazing how even things that, even close things, even things that are right there, man, it's hard to see them. So I'm noticing that I typically have to have my readers on. Unfortunately, to even read books and things like that, I'm a dinosaur. I love to read a book. I got friends, and they probably get more books because they do the audio book. But I'm a dinosaur. I like to read and highlight the book, and you can do that now, even with audio books or on Kindles and things like that. You can highlight, but I like putting my own little notes in, writing, whatever. So that's my quirk, but I need the reader. So bear with me, folks. But here it is. It is called, if you go again, look for the March, it says, "What Say You, White Privilege?" What is America but a system of narcissistic privilege, so laced in greed and destruction it knows no morality? I have been a student of history as far back as I can remember. Because of this, I have grown with an understanding that in order to achieve greatness and not succumb to the culture, I had to focus on a greater purpose than the desires for material success. I had to search my soul for what I believe is the real purpose of my own existence. It could not be a life chasing money. It could not be one of power over others seeking worldly possessions, for these quests can be easier to obtain if I were willing to compromise my morality. I had instead chosen a life ultimately more fulfilling and what I believe more sustainable, however, oftentimes harder and more challenging. I too have struggled to not allow the little self on my shoulder to distract me. I too have drifted away from my purpose to only arrive at a place of disappointment. Not because I didn't hit the mark, but because the shiny object ego was so appealing it caused me to doubt my inner voice, to question my existence, and instead consider selling out for what I know to be fool's gold by cheating and cutting corners. Thankfully, I have attracted guides, even angels, to get me back on the path that allows me to live a life of purpose and freedom. It is because of this blessing that I am so firm in my convictions. As I reflect on our current environment where the cream rising to the top is becoming more apparent to the masses, I give pause. I, like so many Black people, have always known the system was an unjust one. I have always known this firsthand as a young child from a single parent household living well below the poverty line, living in communities that lacked equal resources, even as equal to poor white children with similar backgrounds as mine. So, this new reality for the naive that rich whites and privileged cheat to get their children into better schools is not new information for those living Black in America. It is and always has been our reality since the first ship searching for a new world, led by William Bradford, arrived at Plymouth Rock. Since the knowledge that Christopher Columbus could not have discovered land that had been occupied for thousands of years before his existence. It has always been Black America's reality since knowing we could die in every war fighting valiantly to defend our homeland only after winning to be treated worse than the enemy we died to conquer. The true reality is that not only Black America, but Black people everywhere have been the cream. We have played by the rules of a game never designed for us ever to win. We have and we continue to be questioned on our intelligence and ability. We still find no justice in a criminal justice system where equal and often lesser crimes deal with us more harshly and less humane. Yet, even with these blatant discriminations, we rise. We continue to bear the blows of hatred, and although not easy, we rise. So the real question is not rather do privileged whites cheat, steal, or murder for self gain, but rather in order to save their own souls and the souls of their future generations, will they change? This has been the true hope of Black people. It has not been of our own acceptance, but that such an inhumane people would one day correct the error of their ways so that we can all return to a time of true purpose and alchemy. If not, America will continue to be a system of narcissistic privilege laced in greed and destruction that knows no morality, and with this, its own demise will inevitably be itself. So, folks, that is the blog for March. Check it out. I will be writing a new one for April real soon here. Hopefully, you'll get that one and you'll like that one. You'll love it. I mean, you guys can chime in on these suckers too. I mean, I'll write them. Hopefully, people are getting them and understanding them and appreciating them and all that good stuff. That's what's happening. That's what's up. So yeah. So before actually, too, that blog actually brings me up to something else that I kind of do really want to share a bit with you guys, and that is we talk about history a bit. So it's been really kind of a good week, stressful, good stress, I guess. My daughter has been working on her ancestry at school. So it was it was it's not called ancestry, but I won't even get into that this week on this call, really on this talk on the day's show. But what's going on is she was, I actually did some research on ancestry and found out some amazing history about my family. I was able to get back. I was able to, at least on my paternal side, I was able to go as far back to find out at least like the early 1800s that showed I have a grandfather and a grandmother who were definitely slaves. In addition to that, though, on my maternal side, I couldn't get back that far. But in addition, on the maternal side, that grandfather was also a Union soldier and part of the 65th Regiment, which is part of the African American Civil War Memorial in Washington, D.C. So it was, man, I'm telling you, you're talking about just seeing the history on the screen. So I'm on Ancestry and I'm looking at this stuff and just seeing it on the screen was wow. I mean, it hit me hard, right? I mean, it was good. I was glad to find the information out, but just seeing like the records of them kind of listed as slaves, then, seeing him listed, his draft record or his, his union card. Um, just very, very humbling. Um, Man, I mean, really, I almost went to, almost went to tears just kind of looking at that. So anyway, a lot of information, and you can really get addicted to the ancestry.com piece. You can really get addicted to this stuff, man. I mean, hours and hours you're looking, and it's leading you on all types of different limbs, trees, and whatnot. Different branches are branching off, and ooh, a lot of information. And I've been a member for many years now. I've kind of allow my membership to expire and go back and renew and that type of thing. The information stays even if your membership expires. But I've done year at a time here, 6 months at a time there, and a lot of times I've walked away because it was just so much information. It was just so I got addicted and it was like couldn't really pull away. So the only way I could get away from it was to kind of just leave it alone altogether. And so I did that. But this time, that was what I was able to find out, helping my daughter with this whole piece. And she has been, wow, it's been something for her too, something for her as well. But it breaks it. This blog just makes me think about all of the sacrifices that we've made in this country as a people. All the sacrifices. I mean, from being slave owners. I mean, that, I mean, it was forced, but it still was a sacrifice. I mean, we built this country, many of the buildings in Washington, D.C., the White House, the Capitol, built by slaves. And when I say slaves, I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. These are people who were forced into slavery. When I think about my kids' school, they go to McDonough, and John McDonough was the biggest landowner in Louisiana and in Maryland. And again, he got his wealth from having slaves, and basically they built the school. And so I always share that with my kids so that they walk around campus with a pride, with a pride, knowing that it was really their ancestors who built this. And though they may have a statue of John McDonough, understanding who that real person is should, and that's just that school, right? I mean, it's not just the John McDonoughs, it's the Jeffersons, it's the Washingtons, it's so many. But I wanted to make sure that I'm clear with them that the true history is shared, that they understand that John McDonough was a man who owned slaves. And there's nothing good about that. But it kind of segues me, I guess, into the conversation that I want to have today, because I was just reading, the whole article. There's the sister in Houston, the principal in Houston. And I say sister because she's black, but she basically had to put she had to go ahead and put a she had to put a dress code on the records because she had too many of her parents coming to school inappropriately dressed. And she wrote, like I said, she wrote up a letter with that information, basically the new rules that were going down. And so afterwards, you had all of these folk who were upset with her for writing these rules. So you got all over Facebook, all over social media, period. It's just kind of blowing up. People are angry. Like, I dare her. You got folk like, if this was a white person who wrote this, even those who are supportive of it would be angry as hell and saying it was racism. This is only happening because it is a black woman, or the demographic that she's actually talking about is black, et cetera, et cetera. So you get all these different folk and they're all over the place. They're bananas. They're going crazy. They're angry. And I actually don't get why there's so many of us that don't understand or can, get where she's at on this. My personal piece is how can you think it's okay? How can you think it's okay to go to your kid's school, right? With your ass out. You've got people, and the reason why I bring it up from the standpoint of kind of why I'm paralleling this or how I'm bringing this in from what I was speaking of before, just about our heritage and what we've been and what we've done in this country, is because oftentimes we will use white people as the benchmark. We will talk about how I see white people come to school sometimes in pajamas. And we will justify the fact that white people do this ignorant shit as if that makes it somehow okay. And I'm sorry, but that doesn't make it okay. Just because white folks do it doesn't make the shit okay. Nor does it make it okay or bad for her to speak on it as a principal because she may be speaking to majority of the population may be Black. So we have an issue. One, we feel again like as if we were airing our dirty laundry, like people don't actually see the shit that we're doing. Two, like I don't think that she went to Essence magazine with the dress code. She went to the parents, and a parent took it to leak the story or what have you to Essence magazine or to the local news or however Essence got the article or found out about it. The point is that the principal was just doing what a principal does and trying to enforce something that she really shouldn't even have to enforce. Okay, you got all types of excuses. You got people saying, if they're poor, then they may not have this or that and the other. Or if they're in a rush, they shouldn't be able to not come up to school. If it's an emergency, you got to talk to a teacher. You shouldn't be able to ban them from the school. You got folks saying, there's not enough interaction from parents to now you put up another rule or something else that they have to adhere to, then you may not have the activity. All of this is some low expectation, accept mediocrity type of shit. When are we gonna get off of that? Look, my mother, as I've shared before, suffered from depression all my life. I saw my mom, really in dark places in her mind. Okay. In addition to that, I grew up on welfare. I'm a welfare kid. Okay. Food stamps, the whole nine. Right? Evicted by the age of 10 over 12 times. That's just me. My brother's 11 years older than me. I don't know how many times he experienced that shit. But me, by the time I was 10, I can remember 12 times. And we kept moving after I was 10. We kept moving. But I'm just giving you an example. My mama never came up to my schools with her ass out, with rollers in her head, or inappropriately dressed. So this is not anything, this ain't got shit to do with your social economics status. Nothing. This has nothing to do with if you're black. This is not a fucking black culture thing. This is not, just because you black don't mean that part of the culture is you sag your fucking pants or you wear clothes that make your your ass just out for everybody to see. It just that ain't just nothing to do with black culture. That's just ignorance. Now, look here, I'm not judging because basically, you look, if you are in a place where that doesn't matter, I mean, hey, I'm cool with it. I'm not that dude. I'm not misogynist. I'm not like, women can't show cleavage or, trying to be the woman police of what they wear, or even cats that want to wear their pants sagging. Hey, man, it ain't my thing. I'm encouraging it and enforcing it and instilling in my son, yo, that's not the way that you wear your pants, son. We don't roll like that. My players on my football team, I'm not having it there. But hey, if your parents are cool with it and you doing something with them, or you're an adult and you rock that way, that's on you. Cool, do what you do. When you bring your ass to school, have some decorum. That's all. Have some decorum. And don't tell me that you were so in a rush that you couldn't motherfucking put on a pair of pants instead of pajamas. You weren't leaving. It wasn't a fire. This because they call you up to school don't mean the fucking house is burning. The only time you should end up outside in your underwear, folks, is when the fucking house is burning. The only time maybe pajamas are permitted is when the house is burning, you picking up the newspaper off your front door. Okay, I'm saying, you rolling the trash maybe to the corner. I get it. But to get your ass in a car, drive to your kid's school, or some of y'all walking to your kid's school down the blocks, into the building with your motherfucking pajamas on. Or with leggies or yoga pants. Some of the sisters, I mean, they cool, right? I'm not tripping on yoga pants or leggies. The lady probably is not tripping. She don't care if you came in your leggies or your yoga pants. But some women take it too damn far. And this is a high school. This is a principal. She's a high school principal, and she's got parents, mothers coming up to the school with the labia majora showing. You hear what I'm saying? And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But labia majora showing. Yo, if I'm in high school, I'm looking at your moms like, what? I'm 17, I'm 16, whatever. I'm 18 years old. I'm looking at your moms. That is not the place for that. You got my security guards looking at you, your ass is out. You got, it's just too much for school. And we got to model and teach. Some say, hey, you can pull a parent over, if it's just one parent, whatever, a few parents, why don't you have somebody in there that can talk to them, tell them, hey, this is not the appropriate way to dress. Only in motherfucking, if it was that easy. My wife is a school social worker in the inner city schools here in Baltimore. If it was that easy. One, this is happening in too many places, too frequently. So the principal probably was like, yo, this is out of control. It's not one or two parents. It's a whole bunch of folk doing it, right? And so secondly, If she did actually just have one or two and somebody went to them on a humble, if the person perceives it the wrong way, now you have an issue of somebody isolating you or singling you out, and you got a big old legal case and the whole nine. So she sends it out and puts it out for the whole student body, the whole school. This is the rule. This is what we're gonna actually enforce. And you have parents and people all over social media talking about, yo, I dare her. How does she have the right? She's tripping, all this. And I am really tripping on how many people are tripping, because this is like a no-brainer. And I'll use this as my analogy. You don't see this shit happening when you see people in court. I've been going to landlord-tenant court for 19 years. I have yet to see anyone come to court with their ass out or with pajamas on. Now you get those rare occasions where somebody, a cat will be sitting in the courtroom with a hat on, you know, or you'll get those rare occasions where somebody will have some saggy pants on, right? But typically, what will happen, even before they come up to the judge, is the sheriff will check them. The sheriff will tell them to take off their hats, right? If they caught them coming in with their pants sagging, they tell them to pull up their pants. Quick! And they pull their pants up, they take their hat off, they don't have no words. No words. If they get up to the judge and the sheriff didn't see it, right, and they didn't catch it, typically, like I said, it's not a hat thing at that point, but you know, maybe your pants are sagging or something like that, then the judge will check them and they're pulling up their pants. Now, like I said, rare occasions have I seen that even happen where it got to that point, because most people, when they come to court, they got this shit together. Now, I don't mean you came in a three-piece suit, you know, I'm not talking, but they come in at least dressed appropriate for where they are. What would make us think that going to your kid's school, it would be okay for you to have on clothes that your ass is popping out because your dress is too short? What would make us think that it's okay for you to be sagging with your pants hanging beneath your ass at school? What would make you think it's appropriate for you to be in your pajamas, your sleeping wear, your private household wear out in public? What would make you think that that is okay? Where is Big Mama? This is, to me, an eroding situation, or an erosion of a people, where Big Mama has become she's basically as old as Mama. Because Big Mama, right, who was the matriarch of the family, would have checked your ass when you was a youngster, so you would know that by the time you had your own kids, you don't roll like that. That's just not how you roll. It's the same thing when you see folk at church, right? And it's getting so, you know, we've gotten so far away from mosques and churches where people just come as you are. And they come as the fuck they are. There is no decorum. They don't care who sees their ass cheeks or nothing else. And, you know, half of them sitting in the front, they showing they got their legs partially open so the pastor and the deacon can take a peek. We have lost our effing minds. This ain't a black thing. This is a decorum thing. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. If you come to your kid's school dressed inappropriately, you need to make a hoop out face and take your ass home. Come back when you're ready to sit down and talk business. This is your kid's place of business. You couldn't come to your profession. You can't walk into your job with your clothes hanging off you or just inappropriately dressed. So why do you think you would be able to go into your school, your children's school building? It is sad that we have to have these discussions. It is sad because there's so many other things that are going on in society, in our kids' lives, in schools that we need to be addressing, that we fucking don't need to be addressing how the parents walk their ass up in the school. But here we are. Here we are. We're supposed to be modeling and teaching for our children, for future generations. And the principal has to take time out of her busy day. Do you understand what it's like to be a school teacher or a principal or a social worker or a counselor in a school? It is crazy. Even when the school is a good school, even when the school is run effectively and you've got great staff and, just energetic, excited children, it's crazy. But when you have what many of our schools have is inadequate teachers, poor conditions, students who are angry as hell, rightfully so sometimes, who are being miseducated, misguided, so the stress and the tension in the building is crazy, off the chain. And then you have to sit down at your desk, ponder over how you are going to word your letter to address the not all, but often too many parents who come to speak to you or one of your teachers or staff, and they are inappropriately dressed. Think about Me Too for a moment. Think about how you have one of your male teachers now speaking to a parent, and he's trying to stay focused and trying to do the right thing, but you got a mama who let it all hang out. If he says anything, if he says, "You look nice today," he says anything, you can have a lawsuit. Come on, folks. Come on. These are subject matters that we don't have the fucking time to deal with. But yes, it's important. That's the craziness about it. We shouldn't have to talk about it because it should not even have to come up. She shouldn't have had to sit down at her desk and come up with the right words of how am I going to frame this? What am I going to talk about? What things do I have to discuss and say no more? That shouldn't even have had to happen. I'm sure she got some kids in her school right now who are not reading on grade level and they in high school. Many who may even be reading on a middle school or elementary school level, and they're in high school, or don't have the math that they need, right? Or don't have some resources at home that they perhaps need, right? That she has to address all of that, which is really something more major than this. But some parent get all angry and puffed up that they took this to the media because they were so angry. And I wouldn't give a fuck if the principal was white. In this case, she's black. But if you're right, you're right. I am all for, like I said, I'm free. I love the woman's body, man. What? I am like crazy sick about the woman's body. Love the woman's body. My wife knows I love the woman's body. I've been studying the woman's body. I mean, I maybe even should have had a call, and maybe I was supposed to be a gynecologist or some shit. I have been loving the woman's body all my life. I was reading books on the woman's anatomy when I was in high school, real talk, talking to my friends in high school, my girls, like, explaining things to them that they didn't know about themselves, and I'm still that dude. I'm all about women being able to express themselves however they want to, present themselves in their sexuality, and be bold with it if they choose to be bold with it. I'm all for it. I embrace that. I grew up, even though I'm Muslim, I'm one of those different dudes that's different, that says, woman is God. Fall down on your knees. And what? I'm that dude. So this is not, she can get it. No, this is on everybody. This is dudes too. It's just a place. It's schools, because I don't know how you get down, right? This is a place of business. We're not entertainers. This is a school, right? You're a musician. Hey, you show up like you show up. Prince had pantsless, assless pants. That was Prince. He's an entertainer. It's cool. It's understandable. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Kiss and all those cats. They did all, that's part of who they were, the gimmick. But as parents, going to our kids' school, there's a certain level of decorum that we must have. That's it. And if you're that parent that's going to school with your pajamas on, you're tripping. It don't take that long. If you brush your teeth, you ain't got stink ass breath. You're not going to talk to the teacher with stink ass breath. So if you could brush your teeth, throw on a pair of pants, a t-shirt. We ain't saying you got to be, suited and booted. We're not saying you got to go and put on makeup and do all that extra. But even on emergency, you can't justify that. You cannot justify that. Some people come to the school and they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know that they're dressing that way. They know that how they're being perceived. They're hoping in some way that they're getting the attention. This ain't the place to get the attention. This is not the place. When my daughter was going to she was in a preschool, 4-year-old preschool. It was a public school, had a preschool 4-year-old. I went all the way up to 5th grade, and I would, drop her off in the morning, and you see people, white folk going in with their pajamas on. It was just crazy. It was fucking crazy. I used to look at them like, what the fuck are they doing? House shoes on and shit. walking down the street with house shoes on and fucking in pajamas. Unacceptable. Unfucking acceptable. We can do better. This is not who we are as a people. We don't have a history of doing this type of shit. This is new wave. Maybe last 20, maybe 30 years we've been doing this type of just ignorant ass shit. This ain't got nothing to do with my Black legacy and heritage. Black folk for generations, even before white folk came in this land. Because we've been here and then back and forth and all over the place. We've been here before white folk, before slavery, before 1619. Some of us was here, left here, got shipped to Europe and Spain, and then had to get shipped to Africa and then shipped back here. I mean, we've been all over. It's been crazy. But even with all that being said, we don't have no history of this type of foolishness. Even we was a poor, piss poor. Jim Crow. You know? Jim Crow and the west side and the south side of Chicago, the areas in which Quincy Jones and all those cats grew up in on the south side of Chicago. Even back then, we dirt poor. Mamas didn't go to school with their fucking ass showing. They didn't go to school with their pajamas on. And if they did, somebody thought they was crazy. They were certifiably nuts. That wasn't the norm. We taking shit that's ignorant and we trying to make it pop. We trying to make it funky. Make it the new hot shit. Ain't nothing hot about that shit. Put some motherfucking clothes on before you take your ass to your kid's school. Period. That's my show, folks. That's my show for today. I had to get that off my chest. Again, we can do better. We must. We can do better. We can do better, folks. And we must. So, folks, I'm your host, Gary Rockman, your real estate rock star. You have been listening to Connection. And until next week, baby, keep moving forward.